Partisans from the ATESH resistance movement have reported disabling a relay cabinet on a railway line in occupied Luhansk Oblast used by Russian forces. The route connects Russia's Rostov Oblast with the north of occupied Luhansk Oblast and is actively used for transferring equipment, ammunition, personnel and fuel. As a result of the sabotage, train traffic has been disrupted, causing delays in the delivery of military cargo and fuel and lubricants. This creates serious difficulties for supplying the occupation forces on the front line and slows down the preparations of new attacks, ATESH says. Recall ATESH, a military partisan movement operating in the occupied territories of Ukraine and in Russia, created by Ukrainians and Crimean Tatars in September 2022, following Moscow's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Last month, Ukrainian resistance movement blew up a railway track in the temporarily occupied part of the Zaporizhzhia region, which led to the suspension of Russian trains in this area. In the temporarily occupied territory of the Zaporizhzhia region, an explosion destroyed a railway track in a section that Russian invaders actively used for logistics. Almost a week later, Russian invaders restored the sleepers and rails and let a military freight train run on them, but the track was damaged again by the Ukrainian defense forces. Earlier, Ukrainian defenders had already stopped the movement of Russian trains in this region and attacked them, in particular using FPV drones. Soldiers of the Ronin unit from Ukraine's 65th Separate Mechanized Brigade used FPV drones to strike a Russian fuel train in the occupied Zaporizhzhia region. The operation involved several units, including the Defense Intelligence's Kabul 9 unit, the 65th Brigade, the Security Services Alpha Unit, and the State Special Communications Services Next group, in coordination with the Khortytsia Operational Strategic Grouping and the Zaporizhzhia Operational Tactical Grouping. Despite the target's distance of more than 35 kilometers from the front line, the FPV drones reached the train and struck it repeatedly. The attack triggered a large fire with flames breaking out in multiple areas. According to activist Petro Andriushchenko, at least 11 fuel tanks caught fire. The fire damaged both the train and the railway infrastructure. As Western media previously reported, Russian President Vladimir Putin demanded that the Ukrainian armed forces withdraw from Donbass in order to reach a peace agreement. Kiev disagrees. At the beginning of the week, it became known that the Russian army had made an almost record breakthrough, advancing 10 kilometers into the Donetsk region. The Ukrainian General Staff claims that the situation has been stabilized. Geography helps Kramatorsk and Slavyansk remain islands of civilization in the military. Half-destroyed Donbass, according to Current Time TV. It is noted that Kramatorsk and Slavyansk are called critically important for the Ukrainian line of defense. These cities are called the last line of the so-called belt of fortresses of the Ukrainian armed forces in Donbass. This is not only about the classic line with trenches or anti-tank ditches. These two cities are located near a ridge of heights, from where everything around is visible. In addition, there are many water barriers here, rivers, lakes, which hinder the assault and help the defense. What will happen next with these cities is literally up in the air. Local residents express different views on their political views, but it is difficult to find a person who does not follow the negotiations. Nothing. They won't come to an agreement. That Putin is a scumbag. How much does he need? Lord! He razes everything to the ground. For them, nothing is sacred. They are trying to persuade us that we should go somewhere or move. I think they will give us up. We are in a hopeless situation now. I will leave in any case. But I don't want to live under the Russian flag. I know that there will be a desert here. This is complete insanity. It's the same as if I came to you. I liked your apartment, came out. That's right. This is idiocy in the 21st century. Now if they say, let's say, the war is ending, but Kramatorsk is Russian. There is peace here, but the Russian flag. I don't even know how to tell you, but I hope there is no war. The war is already here for everyone. I will stay in any case, whether it is Russia or Ukraine, because this is my city. I was born here. I studied here. Many are hoping that, what if, maybe, he will come to an agreement. Maybe he will bypass us. I think that the majority of the population, with all due respect to the situation, everyone just wants to stop it as it is. Just stop it. A number of sources unofficially report that a group of the FSB from Moscow with the highest powers is working in the Crimea annexed by the Russian Federation, allegedly investigating the entourage of the Russian head of Crimea, Sergei Aksyonov, for abuse of power, conflicts of interest, and corruption. One of the Crimean human rights activists, speaking on condition of anonymity, told Krim.Reli that security forces from Moscow were working in the building of the Russian government of Crimea. My sources in the Council of Ministers of Crimea reported that the security forces have uncovered this quiet little world with inflated staff under Aksyonov's roof. This week, an ambulance even had to be called to the Council of Ministers as some people fell ill after visiting the office of the head of Crimea. But the security forces are not only interested in the Council of Ministers, they are paying great attention to Yevpatoria, where big problems are expected for the local leadership, the human rights activist reported. According to the human rights activist, the work of the security forces landing party came as a complete surprise to the top officials of the Russian vertical of power in Crimea. Recently, we have been seeing high-profile cases of confiscating illegally accumulated wealth from current or former high-ranking officials in Russia. This is due to the rapid growth of the budget deficit under sanctions. According to my information, the Russian leadership of Crimea has long been causing discontent in the Russian presidential administration with its insatiable appetites. The mass development of the peninsula by developers affiliated with the top officials of the Russian government in Crimea, with numerous violations, including environmental ones, forced Moscow to give the command to the security forces. So Aksyonov will have to share the billions he has accumulated and leave for another position, most likely outside of Crimea, the human rights activist said. He also noted that this situation indirectly confirms the Kremlin's intentions to end the war in Ukraine. Aksyonov was not touched, given his merits in the militarization of Crimea, but he overdid it here too. His personal army, Bars Crimea, became numerous and well organized. Constant exercises at the peak of the resort season raised many questions in Moscow. And the presence in the leadership of the Bars Crimea of such odious personalities as the notorious Samvel raises concern in Moscow, and the understanding that Aksyonov imagines himself to be a local Tsar, the human rights activist noted. The authors of the resource point out that Aksyonov annually reports on the implementation of the federal target program for cash execution, ignoring the real results of the commissioning of objects. Abandoned construction sites multiply, and advances to contractors at the end of the year mask inefficiency. This leads to the conclusion about the possible theft of budget funds. Crimean activists have long pointed out the isolation of the Russian vertical power in Crimea from the Crimean people.